Long ago, after the founding, the continent of Terralanter was as verdant as it was violent. A few used its proper name. Many only knew it as the Warlands. The Great Charm Offensive, as it was named, was a ploy to soften the peoples of Terralanter and to make ripe the land for conquest. They had built a great device, built in part by the newly available resources that Terralanter industry provided. The day came, the device was prepped, and it laid waste to the Elven countries. A misfire. The device's true purpose is not wholly known, but what happened is only known too well. A mass dispelling of all magical items on the continent and an almost complete destruction of the Vitalis Highlands. It was rended from the land and shunted to the sea. A once verdant valley land, now just hundreds of bespeckled and small islands. A great magical storm known as the Tear encircles these islands, whose winds carrying grit, glass, and rock, gusting fast enough to rip the flesh from bone. In the fallout of the catastrophe, the continent of Terralanter fell back into chaos. Slowly, ever so slowly, civilization returned, as the forces of the Etritian Empire pacified the land. Having won its war and now having an abundance of prisoners, they found a solution. Using great armored ships, they were able to traverse the Tear, deposit their prisoners, and left them to create a livable world for themselves. Only told one thing: if they were able to amass enough items of value, they may leave. Thus started a great tradition of the continent of Terralanter moving its problems somewhere else. Eventually the Empire fell, and a new tyranny born. The Magelords. Their hold on the continent is absolute, and anyone in their way, if not outright killed, are taken to the islands known as the Badlands.
All right, okay, how do we want to start this? Welcome to Dice Populi, or welcome to the making of Miami Dice.
Better.
Welcome
what were the
to
other...
Don't Dice Inside Me. Welcome to Dice on My Chest, Dice on My Face.
Setting a strange tone. Here we are at the beginning. A new role-playing podcast bravely enters the scene, and incidentally, your ears. Thank you for welcoming us into your brains as we welcome you to our table. This is Dice Populi, though the name is apparently still sort of being debated amongst those of us on this podcast, and it might change any day. This is episode 0. As it were. We are going to explain who we are, what we're doing, why you should care, why you do care, and hopefully a few more questions that will give you a sense of what Dice Populi is. So, side note, for listeners who are familiar with Real Play podcasts and do not care to listen to this lovingly crafted preparatory content, you may skip to the first proper episode of the show without consequence. For everyone else, this is a podcast where we are going to try to tell stories together using tabletop role-playing games. Dice Populi is going to feature a few of us. Well, my name is Colin. I am introducing the show and floundering, apparently. I just realized I don't have my dice near me, and that's like a huge fucking mistake. That's the name of the show. I am going to be dungeon mastering a lot of this story, a lot of this campaign. And I would like to introduce the folks that are going to be doing that with me, because our format's a little bit different. How about we roll for initiative to see the order in which we introduce ourselves?
Am I adding my character's initiative?
How about you add your own initiative, whatever you think that is.
So like a -5? Okay.
Yeah,
A -5.
0, son. Well, I got a 2. So
I got a nat 20.
Oh,
I got a strong 9.
Okay. So we're going to go in order. So, Tat, you had a 20. Sorry, mystery person who needs yet to introduce yourself. Who are you and what are you doing here?
Hello, my name is Patrick Brem. I'm here because I'm friends with all these losers.
Oof.
And we're gonna play some Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah. It's weird though, because I'm friends with all of you from different points in my life. Like Colin and Matt are from my childhood, and then Ryan's from college, and then Josh, I've only ever met you on the internet. But
I'm just a complicated AI.
Yeah. Yeah, Josh, I've never seen you, so you could just be a figment of my imagination, and everybody thinks I'm crazy. But I'm here to play some D&D and to DM some D&D, just all about D&D.
So who's next up in the initiative order? We had a nat 20. Who's below that?
I rolled an 18.
-5?
All right.
I'm Josh. I'm a figment of your imagination. And I'm very excited to be playing D&D with you guys. I've been playing D&D since I was like 14, 15, 13, 12. I don't know, somewhere
That's
in
a
the
lot of ages.
14,
early
15, 13, 12.
pubescent stages. Yeah, no.
Hey guys, do you want to play Dungeons and Dragons?
Roll for initiative. I'm excited to be playing with you guys.
All right, and who had next up under 18 on their roll?
Ryan, what'd you have?
I had a 2, so I think I'm pretty safely last unless somebody.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I had a strong 9, but -9 is a 0. So.
Well, okay.
No, I'm kidding.
Well, let's go with the nat 9.
Hi, I'm Matt. I am here. We're about to play some Dungeons and Dragons. In my spare time, I enjoy long walks on the beach and avoiding peanut butter at all costs.
For no reason other than the sport of it.
Nobody laughs.
Oh, I'm sweating.
Ryan,
here.
I sympathize with you so much.
We're the last in the initiative order.
It's me. Hello. I'm your friend, Ryan Mossbarger. I'm your friendly neighborhood dungeon master who you ignore on the daily.
What fucking neighborhood do you live in?
I know all these guys. Well, I know some. I know Pat from college. I know Colin from yelling at him over podcasts, and I know all the rest from this podcast and preparing it. So I feel like we're all friends now, and I'm gonna be dungeon mastering the first thing that we do. The first
real thing.
The first real thing we do. I drew the short straw.
So everybody here is saying they're a dungeon master, which might seem confusing to the typical real play. Real play.
You're talking about
tabletop.
the dice game Dungeon Master, right?
Yeah, and we're not talking about like a sexual dungeon master.
Oh, well, this isn't for me anymore.
Yeah, no whips
I'm
and
so happy.
chains unless your character has proficiency.
I'm just gonna edit in a bunch of sound effects of phones hanging up and then a dial tone and see if people turn off the podcast. After we say that. No, so the format of this podcast is a little different. So I'm the dungeon master in that I am going to be sort of structuring our first campaign. Now, we are playing Dungeons and Dragons. That could change in the future, but the first game we're playing is a campaign that we are calling Dicey Waters. I will be making sure that the entire campaign is in order because each of my 4 friends here are going to be running their own one-shots in this world. The idea is we want everybody to get a chance to Dungeon Master, to run the game. We also want them to find interesting new things that other DMs might not think of. So we're going to have a pretty rich and varied approach to building a campaign. I exist as the person tying it all together, so I will be running an introductory arc called Escape from Farpoint, which will introduce you to the characters and the setting. And the first episode of that should already be in your podcast feed. So if you just want to jump into the action, go right ahead. After that, we're going to have one-shots run by Ryan. then Josh, then Matt, then Pat, and each is going to have its own sort of flavor and its own surprises. And I'm the only one who knows anything about them besides the folks running them, so it's going to be surprises for everyone across the board, and it's going to wrap up with me doing a final arc based on everything they've done. That's the format of the show. That's Dice Populi and how the Dicey Waters campaign is going to work. So why don't we actually get into the characters a bit? So the four of you each have player characters that you're going to carry through this campaign. Let's take the same initiative order as before. Pat, why don't you why don't you tell us what you got? Who are you going to be bringing to the table?
So, my name is Locke, and I've lost everything I ever cared about. You see, I was wrapped up in some questionable enterprises, and I was really, really good at what I did. I wasn't anybody important, but I put my fair share of muscle. The problem is, that wasn't really who I was. I put on this stupid fucking voice to sound tougher and meaner, but really, I'm just a guy who's trying to put food on the table. I had a family, a wife, a daughter who meant the world to me. Well, mean the world to me. But I had to lie to them about what I did. If they knew I was some black-tied henchman, it would break their hearts. So, I hatched a plan to change my ways without her ever finding out. I was in real deep and couldn't just walk away. I knew stuff. They would have killed me. So, whenever I was around the guys, I just started dropping nonchalant comments about some quote-unquote rumors I had heard from management. Things about budget cuts and downsizing. The idea was that this would rile up the troops to get everybody at each other's throats. But even the best laid plans go awry. I got caught destroying some merchandise, all the pieces started falling into place, and they figured out that I was behind everything. And that's how I got here. They pinned every single crime the Black Tide ever committed on me, claimed I was the mastermind behind the whole organization. So naturally, my wife found out, couldn't believe she was married to such a monster like me. She took everything, even my daughter, and left. Didn't tell me where she was going or anything, and now I'm stuck in this godforsaken jail cell. And scene.
Holy shit, that was... Ooh, golf clap. That was fantastic.
Right.
So that is a compelling backstory. What's your character build in Dungeons and Dragons 5e?
So Locke is a dragonborn eldritch knight. I
didn't know that.
Well, it's fucking. What's the base class that I have to fucking pick?
Fighter.
Fighter?
Yeah, fighter. So he's a fighter, but then you spec into eldritch knight. He's got a criminal background, obviously, and he's a true neutral alignment because, like, he's not a bad guy per se, but he really only cares about himself and his family.
Just because you are a bad guy does not mean you are
a bad guy.
Bad guy.
Yeah. So, he's pretty cool though because I'm an eldritch knight. I got a bunch of cool spells and whatnot. So I think I got magic missile. I got thunder wave. I got shield, false life, blade ward, shocking grasp. I can do a lot of stuff, and I got my breath weapon because I'm a badass dragonborn and whatnot. But yeah, he's got a soft spot because of his daughter, and
damn,
he cares about the little ones, but he doesn't really give a shit about adults.
All right.
The younglings.
Yeah. Oh, and I use a halberd as my main weapon because fuck y'all.
Solid strategery. Josh, you've got a character as well, which that was a dumb thing for me to say, but why don't you tell me about it?
Yeah, okay. Hello, I am Sir Edmund Montgomery Blackwood. I was born in the Elven Kingdom of Ilion, the son of the human ambassador of the Kasani people. Ramon de Santos was his name. We don't say his name a lot anymore. And my mother was the beautiful elven lady Maria Chantel. She was the cousin and first hand of the Queen of Ilan. My surname, Blackwood, is given to bastards and interracial children in Ilan, but we won't dwell on that. It's a sore subject. I grew up with 3 older brothers, but I was the runt of the litter. I was never the biggest or strongest, but damned if I wasn't the quickest. I ran, but I also learned how to hit back. If you can't hit the hardest, you better hit the most. So at the age of 25, I decided to serve the Kingdom of Ilion in the best way I could, and I took an oath of the crown. I became a shield in the Royal Order of the Golden Bark. I used my cunning, swiftness, and force of sheer personality to establish myself in the ranks and be assigned to the Emerald Palace, the palace in the capital of Ilan named Chastain. I was still relatively new to the order when the invasion happened. The Empire of Kasan, for which my father was still the ambassador, had always been a militaristic empire. They were ambitious and ruthless, and when they invaded, my father upheld his oath to the Kasani government and returned to his homeland, betraying my family and leaving me and my brothers to try to scrape together some semblance of honor. The invasion was brutal and swift. In a few weeks' time, the capital city of Chastain was under siege. The royal family barricaded in the Emerald Palace. When the Kasani army stormed the castle, the ensuing conflict was brutal. My brothers were slaughtered protecting the royal family. My mother was shuttered in with the queen in her royal chambers. I rushed to defend her, but I wasn't fast enough that time. I heard her screams as they cut her down, and I will never forget the fear in her voice. I fled from the castle and made my way to my childhood home, packed up whatever I could carry, and amongst my belongings I included a copy of the royal family tree. Now, 75 years later, I still roam the world searching for an heir to the throne. I will find an heir. I will rally the people to overthrow the Kasani, and I will restore peace and order. Now, this next part is a little audience participation, so repeat after me. I am the shield of Ilan.
I am the shield of Ilan.
Righteous protector of its citizens.
Righteous protector of its citizens.
Bastion of its values.
Bastion of its values.
Paragon of its ideals.
Paragon of its ideals.
My legacy is my own, my destiny is Ilan's.
My legacy is my own, my destiny is Ilan's.
So here I stand, the light and dark.
So here I stand.
Here I stand in the light and dark.
Alien's champion, its golden bark.
Alien's
champion.
It's golden.
It's golden bark.
Dude, that's fucking legit.
It's so corny, and I fucking love it.
Well, I fucking love you.
What's the build of this extraordinarily theatrical character?
Yeah, so I am playing an Oath of the Crown paladin for a fallen kingdom, so he's kind of has an oath to nothing, but, still lives up to the ideals. With a faction agent background. He's a half-elf, interracial child there, but he is lawful good still. He upholds his oath whenever he can, trying to spread light in the darkness, and he is a dexterity-based paladin. Paladin's my favorite class, but I've never gone full dex paladin, and it's fucking dope.
You never go full paladin.
I always go full paladin. Or you at least go part sorcerer, because paladin sorcerer fucking broke. Yeah, that's me.
That's fantastic. All right, third in the initiative order, we have Matt. Who is it that you're bringing to our table?
Hang on, I gotta go back to pubescent voice, Matt. Hi, I'm Maeve. Well, that's not my real name, but even I don't know that. My great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandpa was some asthma person thing who had magic powers, but he was very nice, and I think he hurt a lot of people. Anyway, I have magic powers too. I think that's why my actual parents left me with Miri and Anders. Anders was super gruff, but Miri was always super nice to me. She didn't think I looked funny. She said my horns made me special. She even gave me my best friend, Mr. Bear. I was so sad when I found out they weren't my real parents. Anders told me that I had another name and that I didn't belong to them. I was so sad. But I didn't mean to start the fire. I swear it wasn't my fault, and nobody believes me. The bad men took me away and said I was in a lot of trouble, but I didn't do it on purpose. And I'll have to remember Miri and Anders as Mr. Bear. And if I'm not Maeve, then who am I? Scene.
Damn.
I keep forgetting that I'm not just listening to something that already exists and I have to talk to you guys because I'm honestly kind of wrapped up in this. So Maeve, Matt, why don't you tell us a bit about Maeve's build?
So she is a sorcerer, a wild mage variant. She has a little bit of a demonic background. That's why I made her a tiefling. She has a bit of a fear of fire due to her accidental lighting her family house. She tends to try to avoid combat, but she'll try to support others to the best of her ability.
Fair enough. Last up, we have Ryan.
It's me, a cult.
It's me.
It's me, a cult.
I approve this new character choice.
I am Cult. I have lived in the Badlands all my life. When I was a boy, I helped tend to my father's boat. I remember the scent of fresh fish as we would carry them to my mother. I had a good life. Like all things in the Badlands, it was not to last. My father grew ill, not of flesh, but of mind. Every day his anger grew, as did his lust for the drink. My life shattered the day he strangled my mother. He was regretful when his rage had subsided. It did not stop him from selling me to the temple. I hated him and the prison he sold me to, but it satiated my thirst for knowledge. I studied relentlessly, prayed for guidance, stole from the dark places I was told not to go. If I was to bring my mother back, I would need every dark secret, every whisper of power, every glimpse of arcana I could find. I found a ritual behind the leather binding of an old manuscript. If done, it would show me the truth of the universe. It required a living sacrifice to rend the fabric of the planes of their secrets. My father was an unwilling but fortuitous ritual component. I used my father's still living blood to draw the spell circle, and I slew him over it. I said the words of power, and the weave of reality split around me, and I saw into the vast oblivion. What I learned, what I saw, not only burned into my mind, but ravaged my body. Destroying my youth, I burned down that temple. I burned down my village. I burned down that entire island. We are just meat on strings. Puppets. Living, dead, in between. All the same strings. But now I will pull on them. And scene.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Nuts, dude.
Wow.
Holy hell.
It took all of my willpower not to laugh when you said ravaged
My body.
Ravaged my body.
What's the build of Cult?
So Cult's a bit of he's a multi-class. So his first class was Cleric, Knowledge Domain, as you know, trying to symbolize his search for knowledge, and then abrupt switch into Necromancer. So he's a bit mixed. It gives him some interesting abilities. I was given very poor stats, so I think it reflects kind of the crippling that happened to him. I only have one stat that has anything above a 1. There's some negatives in there. There's a lot of negatives. So because of his unique build, it allows him to wear armor. It gives him a lot of extra little, the knowledge domain cleric gives him a lot of little buffs and toolbox type of spells. He also, I'm human, but I took the variant human thing, so I took a feat and I gave myself Warcaster, just so he can wield a weapon and a shield and still perform the somatic components of a spell. But yeah, he's a gnarly guy. He's not very nice. I believe his alignment is chaotic evil. Yeah, it's chaotic evil. He's not a nice man. And he really likes to burn things, which I think it puts him at odds with Maeve.
Yeah.
Just a
all right. Yeah. So those are the characters that are going to populate our Dicey Waters campaign, and each the little bit of writing you just heard from each of them, you're going to get to hear a lot more later. So that's hopefully kind of exciting for you. So to get to like the housekeeping stuff, Dice Populi, we're a part of the Common Geeking Program. So the website for this is going to be commongeekingprogram.com/Dice Populi for more info. Dice Populi is going to release the first and third Wednesdays of every month. It'll be mostly bi-weekly, except for those months with the extra Wednesday. But to try to get you guys into it a little faster, and because we want you guys to enjoy this show as much as possible. The first arc, Escape from Farpoint, we're going to be putting those episodes out weekly. So you have this and episode 1 in the feed right now. Next week, you'll have episode 2. We're going to finish Escape from Farpoint and a little piece of interlude content before going bi-weekly for a regular show once Ryan begins his little one-shot here in the Dicey Waters campaign. And if you guys enjoy the show, please share. Like, we're doing this for fun because we enjoy it, and we want to bring other people into the loop. I've even started, like, putting some PDFs together to see if, like, I can put the adventures into documents, but we don't really know what we're going to do with that just yet. But if there's any interest, let us know. We can see what we can do. But as far as production, the 5 of us are performing and writing and everything, but for editing, that's all Matt. Matt is going to be doing that, and I'll be doing music and sound design. You heard a little of that here. It'll be more cohesive in a proper episode, I promise that. So, yeah. These are the folks that are going to make up the show. We've already got a few in the can. Do any of you guys have anything else you want to say or bring up before we wrap this prelude?
I don't think so.
I hope you enjoy it.
If you don't, tell us why you don't.
Yeah, that's a big thing, I think. For when we do debriefing episodes between one shots, I would love to I'd love to even talk with you guys about like what works and what doesn't, because I mean, there aren't a lot of games where it's all DMs. That's a pretty unique thing. I think that's going to be fun.
We're always going to critique the hell out of each other.
Yes.
I'm also just probably the DM who has the least knowledge on the rules, so I ask a lot of questions.
Oh, I will challenge you very hard on that one. I haven't, my regular campaign has not met regularly in a while, so I think I've slipped on most of the actual things. I'm mostly leaning on Ryan and Josh to correct me.
Well, don't worry. When everyone's a rules lawyer, no one is.
Well, actually, I looked on page 194 of the player's handbook, and I think it says different.
All right, cool. So I think we're gonna wrap this up there, just to give you a little taste of what's coming. I am Colin Ketchin. I'll be the game master for Dicey Waters. The 5 of us are going to jointly operate a Twitter, Instagram handle at Dice Populi. So hopefully that'll be fun. We'll each have our own stuff to put up there, and we'll post when new episodes release. But yeah, if you want to find me online, I'm at SonicColinK. Pat, do you want people to find you online too?
If they feel like it. Depending on where you try to find me, it's either Pure Riffery or Patty Ice Official. I'm not gonna tell you which one is which. You just gonna have to figure it out.
It's a little bit of a clue. Roll insight. Josh, I'm guessing. How about you? Is there any sort of following you want to engage in?
No.
Matt?
Negative.
I not active on social media.
And Ryan.
I have a Twitter handle. I'm on Facebook and Twitter. You feel free to try and find me, you fucking suckers. But if you want to get on my Twitter, it's Ryan RYAN _MOSSB. And then you should find me. I'll probably have like 2 other followers.
All right.
Get at me.
Cool. So the Common Geeking Program page on Facebook is where we'll try to put out the most frequent updates, and as big changes come, we'll put those on commongeekingprogram.com, where you can find Dice Populi there. Thanks for taking a listen, and I hope that you enjoy the adventures.
Come and be